Good morning and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be reading chapters 3 and 4 of Stink the Incredible Shrinking Kid. Yesterday we started this story and we met Stink, who we actually have met before when we were at the Judy Moody book last week. But we learned a little bit more about Stink and how he's one of the shortest kids in the class, and he thinks that he is shrinking because Judy measures him every day. And one night he measured her, or she measured him, and he was 1/4 of an inch shorter than he usually is. So he was all upset about it, but he went to school the next day, and he was excited because he got to go get the milk for the class, which he never gets to do. And on his way back, he stopped at the nurse's office, and the nurse told him that it's normal to shrink. So let's continue reading Up, 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 Chapter 3. Stink walked tall down the hall, around the corner, and back to class 2D. "Stink, you won," said Sophie of the Elves. "While you were gone," said Mrs. Dempster, "we drew a name to see who would get to take Newton home this weekend. Your name was chosen." "For real? Me? I get to take the Newt home?" "You have all the luck," said Webster. "Things are definitely looking up, up, up," said Stink, telling himself a joke and cracking himself up. Stink climbed on the bus. He held the critter keeper carefully in his lap. "Don't worry, Newton," said Stink. "I'll take really good care of you. The best." "What's that?" asked Judy when she got on the bus. "A red spotted newt, like a baby salamander. His name's Newton. Where'd you get him?" "He's our class pet. We're studying life cycles, and Mrs. D went to New Hampshire and brought him back for us. I'm taking care of him for the weekend. I get to play with him and watch him and keep a journal of stuff that happens." Judy snorted. "New Hampshire, Stink, not New Hampster." "You mean New Hampshire," said Judy's friend Roxy. "It's in New England." "It's in New England," said Judy, cracking up. Stink rolled his eyes. When Stink got home, he did not stop to get a snack, not even Fig Newtons. He took Newton up to his room. He got out his notebook and wrote, "Friday, 3:37, Newton hiding." Stink stared at the newt. Judy came in and peered over his shoulder. "Friday, 3:40, Newton hiding." "Friday, 3:45, Newton still hiding." "You should write 'boring' in your journal," said Judy. "Newts are not boring," said Stink. "Name one unboring thing about a newt," said Judy. "Newts eat crickets and worms and slugs," said Stink. "Boring," said Judy. "Red-spotted newts are the state amphibian of New Hampshire." "Boring," said Judy. "Okay, how about this? Newts start out as eggs. Then they hatch and swim around like tadpoles. Then they turn into red Fs and live on land. Then they change color and go back to the water." "Now that's a teensy-weensy bit not boring," said Judy. "And they shed their skins," Stink said. "Interesting," said Judy. "Call me when that happens." On Saturday, Stink wrote in his journal some more. And you can see here, this is a journal. And he isn't really doing much. Okay? "Stink, are you going to stare at that newt all weekend?" asked Judy. "I'm building him a raft out of Legos. Maybe he'll come out and float." "You know what would be really unboring?" asked Judy. "Put the newt in with Toady." Now, if you remember from last week, Toady is their pet toad that they found. "No way," said Stink. "Newts are like poison to toads." "So that means Toady won't eat them. Come on, Stinker." "Toady's all lonely." Before Stink could say Fig Newton, Judy scooped up Newton in her hands. "You're supposed to wash your hands," said Stink. "Don't drop them." "I won't drop them." She set him down on some moss in Toady's tank. Newton sniffed at Toady and curled up his tail. "He's scared," said Stink. "Wait," said Judy. Toady licked Newton. "Take him out," yelled Stink. "It was just a friendly lick," said Judy. "A newt lollipop." "What if Toady gets poisoned? Get him out! Get him out!" "Don't lay an egg." Judy picked up Newton in her not-washed hand. "Stink, something bad is wrong with Newton. His head is splitting open." "Let me see." Stink peered at the newt. Sure enough, Newton's skin had split, starting right at his head. "He's shedding his skin," said Stink. "Put him back! Put him back!" They peered at Newton. "Do you think it'll really come off?" asked Stink. Sure, said Judy. I mean, he's growing unlike some people. Even a newt grows more than me, said Stink. Boring. I wish something would happen, said Judy. She leaned over and wrote in Stink's journal, 1:15, boring. Stink erased it. Growing takes time, he told Judy. That's what everybody always tells me. Maybe if we say some magic words, said Judy. Eye of newt, blah, blah, blah. Wool of bat, tongue of toad. It's happening, said Stink. Rare, said Judy. She ran to get the video. Camera, lights, camera, action. Stink took out his journal and wrote some more. And here you can see where he wrote again some things that Newton did. Gross, said Judy. She stopped the camera. Sweet, said Stink, staring at the newt skin. Hey, can I have it, asked Judy, to show my class, I mean? No way, said Stink. You already showed the whole world my dried up baby belly button. I'm showing my class. Mrs. Dumpster would want you to show my class, too. Not if you keep calling her Mrs. Dumpster. Stinkerbell, Shrinkerbell, Chapter 4. P.U., what's that smell? Judy held her nose. What smell? That dead skunk smell. That 100-year-old dirty sock smell. That 300-year-old rotten egg smell. Judy walked around Stink's room, sniffing here, sniffing there. It gets super stinky as soon as you get close to Newton. Newton, cried Stink. He sprang up from the floor, where he'd been drawing comics. Newton was in his hidey hole. Maybe it's the chopped up dead worms in there and dried up crickets. Why isn't he eating? Grody, grody, gross. There's greeny slime everywhere, Judy said, and brown stuff floating in the water. Stink, you have to clean it every day. Newts can die if their water gets too dirty. Since when are you the newt genius? Since I read it in Newt's Week magazine, you have to dump out the yucky water and wash the rocks and clean off all the slime and stuff. That's a lot of homework, Stink said. Come on, Stinkerbell, I'll help. We'll be the Slime Busters. Slime Busters, double cool, said Stink, but you can't call me Stinkerbell. If you say so, Stinkerbell, let's take it down to the big sink. Stink carried the Critter Keeper down to the kitchen, but he couldn't reach the sink. Here, let me, said Judy. She took the Critter Keeper from Stink and set it on the counter. Stink stood on a kitchen chair. First, we have to get Newton out so we can clean in his house, Stink. Hold this jar. Let's put Newton in there. Okay, said Stink, holding a tiny net. Judy reached in to scoop out Newton with her hand. The net, cried Stink. Mrs. D says use the net for scooping him out. Hold on, wait. I almost have him. Ha ha, said Judy. Gotcha, you little newt brain. He is not a newt brain, said Stink, and you're scaring him. He sure is slippery, said Judy. You should call him Squirmy. Just then, Squirmy squirmed right out of Judy's hand, slipped into the sink, and went sloop right down the drain. Newton, cried Stink. You lost him, he yelled at Judy. Don't worry, Stink, said Judy. He's probably just swimming around down there under the sink. Judy peered down the drain. Is he there? asked Stink. Do you see him? I can't see, said Judy. It's dark. I need a flashlight or something. No, wait, let me turn the light on. Judy flicked the switch over the sink. Grrr. A loud grounding up sound made them both jump back. Stop! Yelled Stink. Judy turned off the switch. Oops, wrong switch. Hey, for those of you that don't know, sometimes a sink has a garbage disposal that makes that grrring sound, and it grinds up any food that has gone down the drain. You killed Newton, cried Stink. The state amphibian of New Hampshire. My class pet. My homework. Stink ran to his room. He threw himself face down on the bed. Newton was gone. Gone, gone, or gonest. All that was left of Stink's class pet was his not boring newt skin. Stink gave the newt skin a place of honor on his desk, right next to his gold Sacagawea dollar, his state quarters, and his French cootie catcher. The newt skin just sat there, lonely, empty, dead. Deader than a doorknob. Stink decided to do his homework. Homework always made him feel better. Stink drew a still life of the newt skin for art class. He read a poem called Who Has Seen the Wind? He wrote one called who has seen the newt, and he used all his homework phrases and sentences. Taking care of a newt is easier said than done. I hope Newton does not get cold feet out on the river. If your class pet goes down the drain, go back to the drawing board. Junie came up to his room. I'm sorry, Stink, she said. I'm super duper sorry. But I bet Newton slipped right down the pipes and on down to the river before I even flipped the switch. Stink put down his pencil. You think? Newton is having the time of his life. Think of it like Stuart Little. He's probably sailing down the river right now on a raft, having a big fat newt adventure. What am I going to tell Mrs. Dempster in my class? They'll understand. It's all part of the life cycle, Stink. The garbage disposal is not part of the life cycle, said Stink. Stink finished his homework. He wrote the last entry in his journal. Sunday, 5/21. Newton goes down the drain. Okay, so we did not have any vocabulary words for these two chapters, but we did have quite an adventure. He got to take home his class pet, Newton, which is their state amphibian of New Hampshire, and unfortunately, he did not do too good with the class pet. He let it go down the drain, and now there is no more Newton in this story. So tomorrow we will see what happens when he goes back to school to tell his class what happened to Newton. For now, you're going to go answer some questions on these two chapters.